Since most of us in here have children, we know the importance of vaccinating our kids. Whether some of us believe that vaccines are good, most of us believe that they're good and bad. But like Dr. Goldstein said, vaccines now have a lot of evidence. So why is it so hard to sell them? And I totally agree with him because I believe if nowadays there are vaccines out to protect your children, why not get them vaccinated? Such as there's myths that they're saying that vaccines cause autism between the MMR vaccine and autism, which is really no correlation, but we'll talk about that later. As well as when Dr. Andrew Wakefield put a published study out saying that they were both a connection, and he later on revoked his doctorate license because it turned out that the study was a complete fail and a lie, and he was just trying to win a trial in court. So he later on lost his doctorate license due to it. But to understand vaccines more on another level, you first have to know where they come from, which was Edward Jenner back in 1796 when he discovered the smallpox vaccine. He found an 8-year-old kid that ended up getting with the mild symptoms. He first vaccinated this child with cowpox lesions. He injected the cowpox lesions, and the child 3 days later developed mild fever and discomfort in his injection area, but no deadly symptoms. 2 months later, he injected the same child with the smallpox lesion, which was the goal in order to prevent them. And after he was injected, since he was already injected with the cowpox 2 months earlier, he didn't develop any kind of symptoms, which means he was immune to this. And according to the CDC, a vaccine is a child's safest substitute to a first exposure to a disease, which I totally agree with as well. A child should be able to be protected against these vaccines versus not being protected at all when these outbreaks are occurring, just like we're hearing about now. The vaccines debate is currently on a very rising debate because many parents now are choosing not to vaccinate, which are causing really big outbreaks. Just like in Disneyland back in 2015 when there was a measles outbreak. And come to find out, 49% of those people were not vaccinated. So why do you think these outbreaks occur? Because many people out here are not protected against these diseases when there are vaccines out here available to protect them, such as the flu vaccine. Many people say, well, the flu vaccine gets me sick. No, that's also a myth. Only a live virus can get you sick. A vaccine is injected with the disease itself. However, is only strong enough to give you mild symptoms for you to be immune to the disease versus it being strong enough to give you the actual disease. Of course, no vaccine is 100% accurate, but why would you not want your child to be protected at least 40 to 60% against a deadly disease versus not being vaccinated at all? So, do you guys have any questions at the moment?
No, you did that.
Okay, so I also believe that there is a myth that parents are misled versus with these vaccines, and that's why they're not getting their child vaccinated, such as Triamcinolone. Parents say, well, there are many chemicals and stuff in vaccines that can harm my child. Well, most of these chemicals and things in these vaccines are also found in food, just like Triamcinolone. Triamcinolone is found in pears. There's more Triamcinolone in pears than there is in these vaccines. So these things that are harming our children, we're giving them on an everyday basis. So what's harming our children? There's nothing harming our children with these vaccines. And what I'm trying to understand is parents that don't vaccinate, what are their thoughts? Why do they not vaccinate? What do they think that these vaccines are causing or harming their children? Why not have your children vaccinated, like I said previously, 40 to 60% against a deadly disease versus them not being vaccinated at all? And that is my point with this speech, is I just want everyone to understand the importance of getting their child vaccinated to prevent these deadly outbreaks that we're now hearing about more and more each year now, versus being able to prevent all of it. And why not? Just get your child vaccinated. And that's all.